Everybody, hope you are well. It is Thursday, 23rd of April. I hope you are still enjoying our book. We are today at chapter 25, so we're going to read chapter 25 and chapter 26. And I want to have a chat with you at the end about what I saw on Newsround this morning. Okay, so chapter 25 was Jeff and Melinda having a bit of a fight, wasn't it? Sorry, that was chapter 24. So we're at chapter 25 now. I'm going to be good, thought Bradley. And then when everyone sees how good I am, they'll know I'm not a monster. And Mrs. Ebble will give you a gold star, said Ronnie. Bradley was so excited. He didn't realise he was putting on two different coloured socks, a blue one and a green one. He tied his shoelaces, then went into the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. His black eye was almost gone. It had faded into a light brownish yellowish colour. He hurried out to breakfast. His mother made oatmeal for him. I hate hot cereal, he complained. You'll eat whatever you're served, said his father. This isn't a restaurant. He frowned, not because he had to eat oatmeal, but because he realised he never should have said he hated it. It was something that the bad Bradley would say. The good Bradley liked hot, lumpy cereal. He took a big spoonful, brought it to his mouth and swallowed the glop. Good, he said. But as he withdrew the spoon from his mouth, his elbow bumped in his glass of orange juice. Claudia screamed and jumped up. Oh, Bradley, said his mother. His father glared at him. It was an He started to say it was an accident, but then he realised Carla didn't believe in accidents. That puzzled him. He wondered why he would want to spill orange juice on purpose. He liked orange juice. It was the oatmeal he should have spilt. Are you just going to sit there, or are you going to help your mother clear it up? Asked his father. He picked up his napkin to help, but his mother told him to stay out of her way. You'll only make a bigger mess, she said. Silently, he finished eating. As he headed back to his room, Claudia burst out laughing. What's so funny? He demanded. Look at your socks, she laughed. He looked down at his feet, and then back at his sister, the laughing hyena. Thank you, Claudia, he said. I appreciate your sharing that with me. She stopped laughing and stared at him. He walked into his room, sat on the edge of his bed and took off his sneakers. Wow, said Bartholomew, you were so good. I would have punched her in the face if I was you. He's going to get a gold star today, said Ronnie. Bradley changed his socks, but once again he was so excited thinking about the gold star, he didn't pay attention to what he was doing. He took the green sock off his right foot, he took the blue sock off his left foot, he put the green sock on his left foot and the blue sock on his right foot. He then put his shoes on and left for school, determined to be good. He walked into class and took his seat. Last seat, last row. He sat up straight with his hands folded on top of his desk. He tried to hold back his excitement as he glanced at the chart on the wall next to him. Jeff came in and sat down. Last seat, second to last row. Bradley saw him out the corner of his eye and then turned to get a better look. Jeff had a black eye. What are you staring at, chalkers? Jeff snarled. Hey, you two look like twins, exclaimed Sean, the girl who sat in front of Jeff. Turn your ugly face around, Jeff snapped. Oh, shut up, Bradley, said Sean, turning around. Bradley looked at the back of Sean's head. She still thinks I'm a monster, he realised, but once I get my gold star, she'll know I'm good. For the rest of the morning, he sat at attention with his eyes fixed on Mrs. Ebble. He kept wondering if she had noticed how good he was yet. As he walked outside for recess, he was almost certain there'd be a gold star next to his name when he returned. Curtis and Doug, two of Jeff's friends, came out of Mrs. Sharp's class. What's the big idea? Asked Doug. Hitting Jeff when he's not looking, said Curtis. Huh? Said Bradley. Doug pushed him. He stumbled backwards into Jeff, who pushed him back the other way. Bradley looked around. He was surrounded. Jeff's our friend, said Robbie. Yeah, said Brian. You hit me when I wasn't looking, said Jeff, and my hands are full of groceries. I didn't want to break the eggs. Chicken chalkers, said Dan. There was a space between Andy and Doug. Bradley dashed through it and ran across the playground. Jeff and his friends chased after him. Bradley looked back at them and smashed into a girl standing on one foot. The girl fell onto the hard hopscotch ground and wailed. I'm telling, Bradley, said one of her friends. I'm sorry, Bradley said helplessly, then continued running. He ran up the concrete steps and entered the school building through the auditorium. From there, he walked quickly to the library. "What do you want, Bradley?" asked Mrs. Wilcott, the librarian. "Nothing," he muttered as he sat down at one of the tables. He leaned his head against his hands, propped up by his elbows. "What if Carla's wrong?" he worried. "What if I really am a monster? I don't want any trouble from you, Bradley," said Mrs. Wilcott. Oh dear, so that's chapter 25. It's going to be quite difficult for Bradley to change people's perception of him, isn't it? At the moment, he's deemed as this really naughty schoolboy, when actually he's trying to make a change. And if anything, it's Jeff that seems to be making some really bad decisions now, isn't it? Okay, chapter 26, page 99. Oh, poke myself in the eye. Page 99 we're on now. "We'll get you at lunch, Chalkers," Robbie whispered as Bradley returned to class. "You're late," said Mrs. Ebel. He sat at his desk, last seat, last row, and looked on the chart on the wall next to him. Of course, there was no gold star next to his name. He'd already done 3 things wrong. First, he'd knocked over the girl and made her cry. Second, he was late getting back to class. And third, and worst of all, his name was Bradley Chalkers. As long as his name was Bradley Chalkers, he'd never get a gold star. They don't give gold stars to monsters. They beat up monsters. He looked around at Jeff, Robbie, Russell and Brian. He had to concentrate very hard to keep from crying. The worst part wasn't getting beaten up. The worst part was that he knew everyone would love it so much. He imagined the whole school, the boys, the girls, and even the teachers, standing by and cheering as Jeff's gang took turns hitting and kicking him. When the bell rang for lunch, he slowly took his paper sack out of his desk. "We'll be waiting for you outside," Jeff said to him. Bradley watched him walk out the door. He walked slowly toward the front of the room and then suddenly dashed out the other door and into the hall. "Bradley, come back here," Mrs. Ebel yelled. He kept running. So what if he got in trouble? What difference did it make? He pulled on the door to the library. It wouldn't budge. The library was closed during lunch. He tried to think of somewhere else he'd be safe. "There he is," said Doug, stepping out of the auditorium. Bradley turned and ran back the way he'd come. He rounded a corner and then stopped and made a quick and desperate decision. He opened the door to the girls' bathroom, closed his eyes, and stepped inside. He opened his eyes. Luckily, the room was empty. He held his breath and listened. Nothing could be worse than being beaten up inside the girls' bathroom. "They'd probably stick my head inside the girls' toilet," he thought. He waited. He didn't hear anything. He looked around. The floor and the bottom half of the walls were covered with green tiles. There were 2 white sinks and a paper towel dispenser. There were 3 toilets in 3 separate stalls. Each stall had a door. It looked very much like the boys' bathroom. Girls' toilets appeared to be the same as boys' toilets. He was disappointed. He couldn't risk going back out into the hall. He leaned against one of the stalls, reached into his brown paper sack and took out his roast beef sandwich. Someone was opening the door. He quickly put the sandwich back in the bag and hopped into a stall, closing the door behind him. He stood on the toilet so his feet couldn't be seen. He listened. He heard a person walk across the tiled floor and enter the stall next to him. He covered his mouth with his hands as he heard some familiar but very private sounds. At last the toilet flushed and he heard the person zip up her pants and walk across to the sink. He heard the sound of running water and then a paper towel being pulled down from the dispenser. Finally, the bathroom door opened and shut. He exhaled, hopped off the seat, stepped out of the stall and froze. 2 girls were staring at him. One was the girl who just used the toilet next to him. The other had just entered. He wondered which was which. Then he heard the loudest scream he'd ever heard in his whole life, and that answered his question. He darted past them, opened the door and flew into the hall. He rounded a corner, came to a door and pounded wildly on it until it opened. "Bradley?" said Carla. "Hello, Carla." He held out his hand. "It's a pleasure to see you today." Ooh. I'm starting to quite like Bradley. For the whole book, he's not really been a very nice person, has he? So it's interesting how your kind of thoughts and feelings about somebody change depending on how they're feeling. And obviously Jeff and Bradley seem to have had a bit of a role reversal at the moment, haven't they? So we will carry that on tomorrow. On the daily timetable today, you will have a couple of questions for you to answer about those 2 chapters. So they should be nice and clear for you when it's uploaded to the school website. And the thing I wanted to mention about Newsround was, it's Wednesday today when I'm filming this, but this is for you to listen to on Thursday. But this morning, on Wednesday, I had a text from my sister to say that her and my nephews were watching Newsround and they might have seen some children from Highfield on it. How amazing! So when a couple of weeks ago, or before we had to shut the school, so a camera crew came to Highfield and filmed the film club, who had been presented or put up for an award to go to a award ceremony to show their short film they'd made. And it was a little snippet, sorry, I've got hiccups, a little snippet of the children who made it. And it was really lovely to see. We watched a little bit of the short film, saw some of the children who made it, and their interviews and things, and it was really lovely. So if you haven't seen it or heard about it yet, have a little look on Newsround, and I'm pretty sure it will be there. It was from this morning's one, early on this morning. Okay, so that is me for today. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to do some exercise. Don't forget to get baking, please, for our bake-off, because the deadline is getting ever closer. So, yes, do get baking. Do enjoy the book, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.